we're all so immersed in our technology and our smartphones, etc., that we're not paying attention to the people around us. When we do actually look at people, we simply project onto them our own emotions, our own wishes, our own prejudices. We quickly categorize them. That person's good, that person's evil, that person likes me, that person doesn't like me, etc. So when you add all that up, when you are encountering a person, it could even be the person you've lived with for 30 years, you're not seeing them. You're seeing mostly a projection coming from within you, and only a tiny portion of who they are is actually penetrating your brain. And so naturally, with that little knowledge of people, you're making misjudgments, misunderstandings, you're misreading them, and all kinds of problems, and hell and pain ensue. So if that is the obvious answer to the question of why we have this pain, then the obvious answer is we need to just become more attentive listeners and observers, which is what a lot of self-help books advocate. And I found that answer also very kind of superficial and silly, because we live in this world which we're bombarded with information, and we're all consumed with our petty lives and our problems that we have, that just saying be a better listener is meaningless. It's not going to change anything. So in order to get inside your skin and change you, I had to ask a different question, which is, are there moments in life in which we humans are actually great observers, when we actually do pay attention? When we were children, we were extremely sensitive, attentive observers of people. We were so attuned to our mother or father, to their slightest change in emotion, because our safety depended on it. Children are actually incredibly perceptive observers. They're the bane of con artists, because they can see through people's fakeness or phoniness. So when we were children, we had that power. When we travel to some foreign land that's very different from our culture, our eyes tend to be open, our senses are awakened. We're paying attention because people seem very different from what we normally see, and we're excited. When we start a new job, perhaps, we might be more sensitive, because it's very critical to see who's in power and who's important to please, etc., in a little court-like environment. Obviously, when we fall in love, we're highly, highly attuned to the signs that the other person is emitting, not just whether they are falling in love with us, but also as to their character. What does that mean when they say that word? What does that tone of voice mean? We're very sensitive. And finally, in an odd sort of way, if we read a really good book or see a great movie with a very well-crafted character, we're fascinated by that character, and we're taken outside of our self and our self-obsession into their world, and we want to understand who that character is. So when you add all of that up, what does that signal? What is the common thread there? The thread is when we are excited, when we are emotionally engaged, when we feel curiosity about people because they seem different or exciting or novel, we suddenly are extremely attuned to them, right? We also feel the need to be attuned to them, because if, as a child or in love, if we don't pay attention, some terrible things can happen. So or at that new job, so we have to pay attention. We're drawn outside of ourselves and into the world of somebody else. So there's less of our ego, less of that internal monologue. And so in our day-to-day life, we're all kind of sleepwalking. We don't have that interest in people. The great psychologist Alfred Adler would call that low social interest. Unfortunately, we have low social interest. We're not really that excited because they're so familiar to us. We think we have to travel to Bali to find interesting people, right? And we don't feel the need for that kind of sensitivity in our day-to-day life. We feel the need to be absorbed in our own thoughts and our own problems. So people are more fascinating, complex, and weird than you imagine. I wanted to shake you up and make you realize that people are incredibly fascinating.